Call to order tonight's meeting, August 19th, 2014.
Bless you.
As we start off every meeting, we say bless you to Roxanne, and then we also say, also go through our mission statement. The Norfolk Public Schools offers a safe, joyful, and challenging learning environment that meets the needs of our diverse students. Through school, family, and community partnerships, we provide an education that inspires lifelong learners and cultivates caring and productive citizens of our ever-changing world. Roll call.
Jeff Chalmers?
Jeff Curry.
Paul Cochran.
Mark Flaherty.
Thomas Doyle.
Ingrid Lardy.
All right. Public comment. Try to hold the throngs back, but it looks like we're okay there. Moving on past that. Correspondence, none. So we're already up to the third thing, which is my report. So we're going to skip into that. 3 items. We will need to conduct a vote for the lunch monitors. We've got a, I don't know if you guys had a chance to read through this yet. We've got a recommendation from Todd and Roxanne regarding the salary for the lunch monitors. What was the final number? 6?
I'm sorry, what?
6?
4. We
4.
need 2 for each building.
Did you guys, everybody look through this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right.
So the recommendation was for $12.50 an hour, which we thought was consistent with other hourly employees. We pay for our instructional assistants $13.07 an hour, but they have instructional planning responsibilities. This is really supervisory, and it requires a different level of training and preparation. So we felt $12.50 was an appropriate, and it's competitive. We did compare it to other communities that have lunch monitor positions, and that's a competitive salary rate.
What salary is currently in the budget?
We anticipated it would be about $24,000 to fund the lunch monitors, and at that rate, we can fund the lunch monitors with that. They work 2 hours, almost 3 hours a week each.
But the budget wasn't determined using a previous hourly rate?
We built it on the $12.50 when we anticipated the budget figure.
Okay.
So essentially, we're dead on for what we had budgeted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
That works.
Any further discussion on that? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a second.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
I should clarify, because we're going to jump into the budget discussion in a little bit. The lunch monitor positions were not in the current budget. That was an addition that was resulting from the successful negotiation of the new teacher contract, which was settled in June after the budget. But we did, and I'll make a recommendation later on how we will fund that. So, but that was the figure that we used in calculating the cost for negotiation purposes.
The money was allotted for,
Yeah.
in other words.
So there's currently no line item in the budget?
There is no line item in the
Right, we've
budget.
gotta
So
move
I'm going to,
something
when we
later.
get to the budget transfers,
Right.
we're going to recommend appropriating $24,000 for that, and I'll go through where we're going to recommend cutting to offset the cost of that.
That makes sense, everybody? Okay. Second item is the MSASC, I think I put too many letters in that, conference that is coming up that we have, Jeff, did you
last
attended
two.
this, the last 2?
Yeah.
Did Kelly go at all, or is it
No.
just you solely that's
Just
gone
me.
to that? Okay. Actually, why don't we go that way? Since you've been to it, it'd probably do a better job explaining what everything's about than,
It's a wonderful conference. Actually, it talks about technology, background education, talks in management, talks about superintendent roles. It basically gives you an overall understanding of how to do a better job, both from a grammar standpoint, elementary standpoint, all the way up to the high school. And it can be everything from administration to, day-to-day tasks, operations. So they have different educational seminars during the course of the day. They might have 7, 8, or 9 of them. So you can't attend all of them. It's impossible. But what we ended up doing in the past, KP, almost 3/4 of KP's board tends to go, and we end up picking a specific seminar we go to, and then we kind of collaborate after the fact. I probably won't be going this year, so I'm hoping that someone else can make it, but it's a really great opportunity. It's typically 3 days. Typically, they might even have a 4th day on Saturday, but it's really awards. That's about all it is. So,
yeah, so November 5th through the 8th, I believe.
Yeah.
did we make the early?
Co-sponsored by the.
We didn't make the early? Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. It's co-sponsored by the Association for School Committees and the Association for School Superintendents. There's a lot of great sessions. I know we've had discussions about the Common Core. There's some good sessions on the Common Core standards, pros and cons. There's stuff about monitoring regional school budgets. You have a chance to hear how other school committees and districts are handling some of the challenges that we face, so it's great. In the past, what we've done is split, by one registration, and then people split days. So if there's any interest, I think it's great. I'm planning to attend, so if people are interested in, even if you want to just go for one day, we could buy one registration and then share the days.
Volunteers. All right, so Jeff, you've done your duty the last 2 years, and you say you can't go, so you're excused duty.
I would love to, but I don't have the time from work to go.
Starts
Could go
already,
on
huh?
Saturday, but
That's just for the awards you're just going to show up for? Very helpful, Jeff, appreciate that.
I'd have to check with my boss, but I might be able to make one of the days. I don't want to commit at this point because I just started a new job, so.
Fair enough. Paul, how about you?
Probably not, but if something does clear out, then I will be able to, but we'll say not.
I can certainly bring, I plan to attend, and I can bring back, if there's particular sessions people are interested in, I can get some information, try to bring it back.
Yeah, I may be able to, well, can we vote for somebody, and then if we, well, obviously, then we're buying a ticket, we're committed to it, but right?
Well, what we could do is, you can vote a delegate. There is a meeting where they're making some decisions and bylaws and things like that, so districts have to nominate a delegate. You could vote a delegate and an alternate, and if no one's present, we
Then
just
so
don't
be
have
it.
a voting power.
Okay.
And then if you want to look at your schedule and see if either of you are able to attend, we can just add a registration at a later date.
Okay.
But you should probably choose a delegate in case, because that needs the school committee vote.
All right, well, we'll do a vote on that, but, so Mark, it sounds like you may possibly be the
Possibly.
most likely percentage-wise of being able to go. I honestly don't know. I'd like to, but I'll have to see. So maybe we'll just do that.
Yeah. So do you want to make Mark the official voting delegate?
Correct.
And you the alternate?
And then I'll be the alternate, and then we'll figure it out from there.
We can update it later. if
Right.
we have to.
And we actually have to vote on that?
Yeah, you need to vote on the delegate.
Okay, so I need a motion on that. Or is there a motion for that? Let me ask it that way.
Well, I can't
Oh,
do it.
I'll
because-
make
Someone else, he can't make a motion for himself.
I'll make the motion.
He could, but-
I'll second it.
So motion for Mark to be the official voting delegate for the school committee at the regional conference, and Thomas to be the alternate voting delegate.
Correct.
Okay, great.
So Thomas just has to sign that.
He'll fill that out.
Okay, so, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay, done. So then I will fill this out before I go.
Les, excuse me. I mean, it's a great opportunity. It really is. If you at least can spend a day. The last 2 years, I've spent 2 to 3 days down there, and it's a ton of information.
All right. Next item of business would be the family handbook for the upcoming school year.
And by our district policy, the school committee has to vote to approve the family handbook annually. I just wanted to let you know one thing. There has been a new law passed this summer on student discipline, and the new law has some significant legal implications that we are going to have to amend our student conduct policy to reflect the new law. So we're in the process of doing that. We hope to have a first reading for the committee at our next meeting. So what we'd be looking for is for you to vote to approve the current family handbook, and then once the new policy is approved, we'll have to take a vote to replace that particular policy in the handbook. The only other things that were updated in the family handbook from the past are contact information, and we replaced any dated policies with the most recent policies, but no other content changes.
And they forgot a parenthesis after 508. It started on my contact number. It started with a parenthesis, and then after the 8, there was no parenthesis. Not a big deal, but
What page, Mark?
page 8.
Okay.
It's not a big deal. I think people will still
fix it.
understand, but
Anybody have any questions? Nope. One question I have is regarding the medication. Do we need to update that with the child having
What page are you on?
I'm sorry, I'm on page 29, section 5, number 5.
Are you recommending that the policy subcommittee look at our policy?
I think so.
Okay, so we can look at that policy,
Right.
but this is
So as
consistent
of
with
right
the
now,
way
we'll
it
leave it
reads right
correct.
now.
Okay, but yeah, I think that would be my question, and I think, yes, I think we
Yeah,
need
we
to
are
look at that
planning to look at the
separately.
healthcare
Okay.
policy this year. And
enough.
basically, anytime we adopt and you approve a new policy, then we will update it in the handbook and notify families that
And
it's
then
been
just, okay,
changed.
update from there. All right. Need a motion to accept the family handbook for the 2014-2015 school year.
so moved.
Second? Someone want to make a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's all set. And that's it for me.
Okay. All right, I have a whole bunch of things, and I've been told I have to be brief because it's really hot in here, so I'll do my best. All right, the first thing I have is the end-of-year budget report. So hopefully you had a chance to read that over, but basically at the end of the fiscal year, the district had a remaining balance in the account of $150,366.26 at the close of the fiscal year, which reflects that we expended 98.5% of our total budget. The majority of the budget savings that we realized was in the instructional services line, and there were three primary areas that accounted for that savings. The first was the .6 technology position that we had budgeted for, which during the budget hearings, I discussed with you that we were unable to fill last year. We could not find a highly qualified candidate to take the position as a .6. So the $51,668 we budgeted for that position was unspent. We did address that in the budget this year by increasing the position to full-time, and we were able to fill that with a great candidate. So that's been resolved. But we had a savings of $51,668 there. In the medical therapeutic line, we also had a savings of $58,282. That reflects, again, as discussed during the budget hearings, we took over and provided home-based services to many of our students with special education needs using our own staff as opposed to contracting out with outside agencies. So we saw fairly significant savings there. And then you'll notice in this year's budget request, we already reduced that line anticipating those savings. The final line that we had savings was teacher substitutes. That was about $41,396. And that line fluctuates. It's impacted by maternity leaves, medical absences, things like that. So it does fluctuate, but we had a balance there of $41,000. There were a few individual line items that had small amounts carried over. That's reflected on the second page of that. So the total unexpended balances was $150,366.26, which will be returned to the town.
Ingrid, question for you.
Sure.
The medical and therapeutic,
Yep.
it says many students. How many students specifically?
We're providing almost 100% of home-based services ourselves. In the past, we had, I'd have to get back to you with actual numbers.
Okay.
But in the past, we had several students receiving home-based behavioral services through outside agencies like Amigo and other Beacon, different companies. We now provide almost all of those ourselves.
Okay,
But I can get you particular numbers of what that transition looks like if you want.
please. That'd be great, thank you.
Yep,
The line item for teacher substitutes?
yep.
Is that flat year over year, FY14 to FY15?
It was, yeah, we carry the same budget. That one's the most vulnerable if we have somebody that goes out in an unexpected medical leave, so we've carried the flat balance. I don't believe, I could check for you, but I don't believe we had, I think we were overspent in that last year, actually.
We were. This is the first time we've ever had money come back
Yeah.
on that.
All right. Any other questions about the budget report?
Nope.
Okay. The next thing is budget transfers. So I also put together a memo for you on that. And what I tried to do is walk through all the recommendations. in the budget process, had a budget summary sheet that I provided, a revised one, and I just want to explain how this one's different than the original and where we're recommending transferring money. So basically, after the budget process, we were engaged in negotiations with the Norfolk Teachers Association. There were some things that were agreed to in the new contract that have a budget implication, but it, again, occurred after the budget process. So we need to transfer some money and make some adjustments. Lunch monitor positions were added. We added 2 to each building. You've approved the rate of $12.50 an hour today. The total cost of that program is about $24,000 for the school year. So we need to add that. We also agreed to assume the cost of the legally required fingerprint checks for all existing staff, and we spread that cost over 2 years, so that's an additional $2,500 per year for the fingerprinting. In order to fund the requests, what we're recommending is that we'd like to reduce our request for a 0.7 custodian that was in the budget to 0.5, and that'll realize a savings of $6,597. And we're also recommending eliminating the extraordinary maintenance line from the HOD budget. That was $20,000. We had budgeted for a phone replacement system. We were able to absorb some of that cost this year, and we are going to have to delay some additional purchases that we were hoping for in an additional year. So that would be a reduction of $20,000. Other changes to the budget, we updated and revised the teacher salary cost to reflect the actual hire. So when we budget for a position, we generally budget masters plus 5 years experience as a placeholder, but we hired some candidates this year that had more experience or more education than that. So the actual cost is $9,249 over budget for that. We also had to add a 0.5 kindergarten teacher to the operating budget. This is a little bit confusing, so I tried to explain it as best as I can. But because we are recipients of the state Transition to K grant, we have some requirements over what percentage of salary can be charged to the revolving account and what we have to provide for out of the operating budget. We have to provide the funding for a free and appropriate half-day program for every child. So we are only able to use the revolving fund to fund the second half of the day. So in effect, half of our staffing has to come out of the operating budget, half can be charged to the revolving account. This year, because we reduced the 0.5 position, half-day program, we only have 5 teachers, which means we can charge 2.5 salaries to revolving and 2.5 to the operating budget. That reflects an increase of a 0.5 salary from last year that we have to address in the operating budget. The reason, even though we had more teachers last year, why the cost was different was we had to add those 3 instructional paraprofessional support positions because of the large class sizes, and they were all carried in the operating budget. So it was a balance there of funding. So we have to move 1 salary, and that cost of that is $36,158. In order to do that, we're recommending some reductions. We had a 0.5 position in the budget for a van driver. You know that we own the van that had been transporting a student to an out-of-district placement. That student's no longer with us. So we're recommending not filling the van driver position at this point. That will save us $15,300. And we also had an unanticipated late retirement that came in at the end of the school year. We're going to really realize a savings of $36,858 there. So that will offset the cost of the other changes. The only other change in the budget is that we are moving a 0.2 clerical position. You'll see that added on the district side. That's not a new position. We had several years ago, one of the building secretaries at Freeman Kennedy was reduced by 0.2, and her position was moved to the special education office. So she was supposed to be working 1 day a week in the special education office. That really didn't work out very well because of the nature of the demand that office has. It's difficult to have somebody that part-time. So we're recommending moving her 0.2 position to central office to provide some clerical support that's much needed in our business office. So it's not an addition, it's just reflected in a different part of the budget. Okay, so any questions about that? We do need a vote and a motion to accept the budget transfers.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Or any,
Second.
Okay, discussion. Now's the time for your questions.
Are we still looking at, do we have any progress on trying to sell that van since we're not?
Yes.
I met with Todd Hassett this morning. We're talking about a couple of options with that. We were originally thinking about holding on to it for another year. We have this new preschool program. We weren't sure whether we might need to transport any children locally, but there's questions about the van and car seats and safety requirements that we're investigating. The other thought was, Todd's going to look into what it would be worth if we were to sell it to another town department, and I'll have information for you on that at the next meeting. And the other thought was perhaps keeping it for the facilities department, because right now, when we have trash pickups, when we have anything that we need to do, the custodial guys are using their own trucks, and we're purchasing trash stickers for them, and we're paying them mileage. Might make sense to have one vehicle. So Todd's exploring all the different options, and I'll bring that back to you once I have more information.
Okay.
How recent is the van?
Oh, God, I think it's 5 years old, 6 years old.
2010.
Well, is it just a regular van?
Yeah, it's
Or
a
some sort
van.
of extended van, or just like?
No, it's just a regular van, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Probably relatively low mileage,
Yeah.
but probably pretty good money.
Yeah, Todd's going to get estimates on what it would be
You
worth.
gotta realize too that school, just like any other town entity, buys those vehicles at a heavy discount.
I understand, but then they could sell it at a nice profit, because if it's a low mileage vehicle 5 years into it, there's a van market is pretty good. But for what it's worth, but he'll look into that.
Municipal vehicles.
We
won't
have
sell
some
for-
regulations and requirements that we would have to follow on
Yeah.
selling that
Yeah.
information.
No, I understand, you can't just flip it out to Ernie Bach.
Right, right. But Todd's going to put together that information so I can
Thank
share
you.
it with you at the
Thank you,
next
Roxanne,
meeting.
appreciate that.
If there's any potential use for it in the future, we're better off keeping it. than
That's
going
what
out
I'm
having to
thinking.
replace Something that's already been depreciated and have to
Yeah.
buy something new, so.
And
And
it
it
sounds like you
may-
have a ready-made use for it, so.
Yeah. So it may make sense to keep it for our facilities department. It may make sense to share it with other town departments. I don't know if the senior center has a use for it or something like that. So we'll try to get that information. I don't think, originally it was for the purpose of transporting students, and we did think about whether it was worth keeping with the new preschool program, but my gut tells me that the liability that we would assume we're not going to save much. We're going to have to hire a van driver that's certified. That's a $15,000 cost. You have to maintain and upkeep the van, and you're assuming risk that it would probably be better for us to contract out. I don't think it's going to realize, because that would be local transport, it's not distance transport. So the cost, I don't think, would be significant. So I'll come back with a proposal on that.
Okay.
Any other questions on the budget transfers?
So the overall difference between all the puts and takes is $6,800 roughly, right?
Yeah, about. It's pretty much, I just broke it by the
Negative.
Is it more,
26.5,
You have
and I
the
gave
negative,
you
Paul?
26,597, so there's that. I don't have a calculator with me.
152?
Well,
Yeah, it's about $6,000 additional that we will have because of that retirement. Yeah.
so that's something we have to find within this year's budget, correct?
No, we're
up 6,000,
We're up,
I
so we
think,
have 6,000
right?
additional, because the reduction of the custodian and the elimination of extraordinary maintenance funds the first two, the lunch monitor and the fingerprinting. And then the other changes were the 9,000 for the salary and 36,000, but we're reducing the 36 from the retirement and 15 for the van driver. So it gives us a cushion of $6,000.
Okay.
It's 54, I'm sorry, 40.
It's about, yeah, it's about
45.
Yeah,
six.
that'll put us 68, 48
Yep,
positive.
and that would be in the salary line.
Yeah,
We still have some hiring to do, so that may be, depending on who
So,
we
yeah.
hire, that could be gone, but we have
6K.
a positive 6 in the
Okay.
salary side.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, opening of school report and new hires. I'm thrilled to say that we are in great shape as far as the hiring for the open positions. You have a list in your packet that lets you know sort of the background of some of the new hires. For the speech and language therapist position here at Freeman Kennedy, we hired Barbara Steiner. She was here with us most of last year, filling a medical leave. She's wonderful, and we've got great reviews from parents, so I'm excited to have her joining us. Samantha Moore is joining us as a grade 5 classroom teacher here. Marcus De La Vega will be our new full-time physical education teacher, half-time at HOD and half-time at Freeman Kennedy. That'll be a split position, so he'll start the year at Freeman Kennedy full-time. Kids at Freeman Kennedy will have phys ed twice the cycle for the first half of the year, and then he will be full-time at HOD for the second half of the year. Kids will have phys ed twice a week for the second half of the year. Andra Charland was hired as the additional math support specialist here and brings a wealth of experience. Rebecca Mastoris was hired for the Freeman Kennedy reading position, and their background information is included, obviously, in your packet. But she also has 8 years of classroom experience and a master's degree in reading from Leslie. We hired Libby Renner as a reading teacher at the HOD. She also has a master's degree in reading. She worked for us previously, several years ago, and has been teaching in the past couple of years. I believe I'm not quite sure, but she's been in a reading specialist position in another district recently. Maura Foley was hired for the pre-K kindergarten teacher position at the HOD. So that is the new preschool program that we're opening. We hired Ellen Versprill, who was an ed assistant with us and had been a prior preschool teacher to fill the transitional pre-K position. Susan McDermott, who served as the Freeman Kennedy building sub last year, is going to be a 4th grade teacher here. And then we have some other changes. Kathy Maloof, who was the reading specialist at the Freeman Kennedy, retired at the end of June. Kathy Longobardi and Vivian Teague, both longtime 4th grade teachers, are retiring this year in October and November. Then we have some shifts. Messia Fontes, who is a grade 5 teacher, was hired as the reading specialist for Freeman Kennedy. Robin Tusseri is transitioning from grade 5 to the integrated technology specialist position here at Freeman Kennedy. Joan Marsden is changing from transitional K to 1st grade. Ashley Ledger is going from grade 2 to grade 1. Jen Rader is going from grade 1 to grade 4. And Tracy Henney, who was the teacher in the .5 kindergarten that was eliminated, is now going to be job sharing a .5 position in grade 1 with Lynn Kelty. And Pat Brogan is going from grade 6 to grade 4. We also were able to fill all 4 lunch monitor positions and have hired those. And recently I wrote the Title I grant, and the Title I grant was funded. And in that we added an additional paraprofessional support position for the HOD to work with our math specialist to provide additional instruction to students. That position was also filled. At this point, the only open position we have, Corinne Hager, who we were expecting to be returning from a leave of absence and taking a 4th grade position, resigned yesterday, so she's not returning. So we have already advertised that position, and we're in the process of interviewing, but we have one 5th grade classroom teacher opening at the current time. So that's an update on staffing. So as I said, we still have some hiring to do, so we have a little flex in the salary side to hire somebody, and we hope to do that in the next week or so.
So what do you
do?
We're not able to fill that position before school starts.
I was just to ask.
My plan right now, we have 2 4th grade teachers that are retiring. So Vivian Teague is retiring in I believe it was November. She's actually going to cover a maternity leave for one of our 4th grade teachers who's going to be gone for the beginning of the year. Kathy Longobardi is another 4th grade teacher retiring in October. I did not, what we did was we moved the building sub, Sue McDermott, who was our building sub at Freeman Kennedy, to a 4th grade classroom. I didn't fill the building sub position. My intent was to have Kathy Longobardi serve as the building sub for the first 2 months. If we don't have a position filled, then we will move her into that 4th grade to start the year and give us additional time to hire.
Okay, great.
So that's my current plan. But we did already go out. The association gave us permission to advertise externally at the same time as we posted internally, so we could aggressively recruit in the last couple of weeks. So I think we have a good shot. We have quite a few candidates that have already applied.
Okay.
But if we don't fill it, we do have an experienced veteran teacher that will start the year out for those students.
Okay, great.
Good.
All right. Okay, the other information, this is just incidental information for you. I'm asked to share and keep you updated on activity in BICO because we're part of the BICO Collaborative. So this is just a report that we received at the end of June from BICO that just gives you some background on some of the things they're doing. One of the things BICO is doing is they're trying to be granted permission to offer a sheltered English immersion course on behalf of the Department of Ed to member associations, which would be great for our teachers. We have a lot of people looking to take that course. It's a new requirement from the Department of Ed. They are opening a new day program in Walpole, working on their capital policy. So this just gives you some information on activities, but if you have any questions about it, I'm happy to answer them for you. I'll try to provide the quarterly updates as I receive them from BICO. Okay. I have two other incidental things, and then I wanted to spend some time on the strategic plan. Update fees. I've been providing the school committee with an update on outstanding fees. At this point, we've made some great progress, thanks to Pam and to Donna for their diligent work. But we have no outstanding tuition fees at this point and no outstanding bus or music fees.
Wow.
We only have one outstanding fee for SAC. We have one family that has a balance of close to $700, and it is from February through June. So the balance is beyond 90 days past due. We've been working and have not received a response. I raised that for the committee because according to the policy, after an account's 90 days, more than 90 days delinquent, the school committee reserves the right to submit the unpaid balance to a collection agency if you choose to do that. The families can, by policy, not enroll in any tuition-based program until the balance is addressed or until they contact us and make a plan. So I'm looking for direction from the committee on how you would like to proceed with that.
Have we had any contact with that family? Have
We've
they-
sent multiple letters and
With no
and
response?
calls with no response.
When was the last time I actually spoke with them?
Yeah.
I actually called and left messages again. What's today?
No, I meant,
When was the
have
last
they not
time you actually
contacted you?
spoke to someone?
So it's been months and months before they've actually
We've sent letters
communicated
and
with us.
called, and we have not
Okay.
received any response.
All right, so the odds of them actually paying this are slim to none, and, okay, fair enough.
I have no problem sending it out myself. If they're not responding, you know, it almost leaves us no choice. You know, we've got to.
No, there's always a choice. Always a choice.
I said it leaves
An
us
economy
almost-
like this is always a choice, especially when it comes to the kids.
I
So
understand.
I'd be happy to get involved and help any way I can, whether it's private donations from outside or something else, so.
Well, we've offered, when we contact families, we offer a payment plan, we offer to look at tuition reduction, whether they're eligible, and we send information with every letter on eligibility for scholarships or reduced rate. So we're happy to work with families. The issue is that we're not.
Oh, yeah, there's no question. I mean, you guys do a wonderful job at that. It just kills me to have
Yeah.
anything like this happen,
Oh, I
because
know.
you never know what's happening behind the
Right,
scenes.
I understand. And that's
I mean,
why
I'm
we
happy
give
to
them the
continue
chance
to-
contact the school.
Yeah, understand though, there's a reason for a non-response. And it's typically things we don't know about. So it is it's a difficult situation to be put in.
My responsibility is just to bring it to you as
Right.
the
Oh,
policy
absolutely.
directs for the school committee to make a decision.
Absolutely.
You know, we're happy to continue to reach out to the family, but it's really, the policy gives you permission
And how-
to make a decision on how you'd like to
Jeff,
pursue from
I
there.
completely agree. You know, it's a tough situation to try and do that when it's involving kids in school. What makes it, I think, a little bit easier to, I think, decide on a particular direction is the fact that they are not responding. You know, if they are
Right.
at least answering the phone, responding and saying that they would try to work with us,
Yeah.
then that's one thing. But if they're completely ignoring us, then, and we've already gone to a certain extent,
Yeah,
it's
I-
been a lot of work
give
for
them
them.
options.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one to go both sides, because I've had clients of mine that have lost jobs. getting involved in the financing part of it can be very difficult because, it's a lot of integrity lost. And how do you deal with that? How do you have a discussion with someone who doesn't want to return a phone call because their head is in the sand because they're embarrassed? How do you get to that person? They're not going to respond because they're embarrassed for anyone to know about
So
it.
it's hard to help them if they're not.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so
It's
I
a
would-
tough one. Chairman.
I would
don't-
suggest
I
at
don't know.
this point, I understand what you're saying. I mean, if you remember this conversation from last year, I wasn't the biggest proponent of this
Yeah.
regardless, but
Yep.
there's also an end game that has to get reached, and I think we're getting to the end game. My suggestion would be they get sent a final notice with a specific window, whatever we decide on. If you do not contact us within 30 days, 60 days, 90, whatever you say, I think 90 at the absolute most, but my preference would be 60, then the collections process begins. I mean, at a certain point, if they are going through what you're describing, which would, or like you said, it could be just a pride thing, which is perfectly understandable.
Sure.
We've got to move forward with this. I mean, there's been all kinds of effort. I mean, these guys have done a fantastic job as far as their efforts, but I think at a certain point, you've got to move forward with it. So I think that's us demonstrating we're bending over backwards, giving everyone every single possible opportunity. As noted, gladly work with them. They call us, hey, look, we can pay you whatever it is, a little
Sure.
a week for as long as it takes, fine, I don't care.
Sure.
But they've got to contact us, and right now, it's a one-way street, and I
I was
just think we got
gonna
to do
say
something.
30 days, you know?
I'm happy to
Yeah,
craft
it's
another
possible.
letter that's
Credit
a
rating
final
gets
notice and,
Well, I guess the
I
question
couldn't
is-
even begin to tell you what happens in collections. I've had people who have paid collections who have basically had their scores ruined with collections agencies who have been paid within a course of a week or a couple days, and they keep it on there for years just because. So I'll go as much as, it's only one family?
yeah.
Okay. I'll stop by their house.
We
I have no-
can't do that because
You
of
can't.
confidentiality.
Yeah, you
I'm
can't.
happy to personally reach out and send another letter and say I mean, we could say that they need to contact the office to
Right.
arrange a
They have a
plan,
deadline.
or if they're eligible for a reduced rate, we're happy to work with them, and that the committee will,
I think unless there's,
in 60 days,
Yes.
make a decision.
Have they
Sure.
attempted to enroll for the upcoming school year?
Not in this program.
Okay.
I just think you have to put some kind of end date to it,
Yeah,
or else it's just going to
absolutely.
keep going on.
I'd like to have a discussion in executive session to address this.
It's a matter
I don't
for
think we
executive
can.
session.
It's
we
not- It wouldn't
can't.
fall under the
Okay?
guidelines of that. I mean, no, it wouldn't, because it's
But
nothing to do
even
with
in
that.
executive session, I don't think she could give us any more details than she can give us now.
No, I can't.
Yeah, because the
Can't
same
tell us who it
privacy would
was,
abide. I
she
mean,
can't
even,
tell us
yeah.
all that stuff. So it wouldn't really matter. You know?
So is the plan
But what I'm
to-
hearing is that you, from the committee, you would like us to at least make an additional effort to reach out to the family, let
But
them know, again, that they can contact the office to develop a payment plan, or to, work out some sort of arrangements, and that if we don't have a response from the family within 60 days, that it will be referred to school committee to make a decision.
Yeah, I don't think this is an item we vote on tonight. I mean, obviously, if we opt to go the collections route, then
We
at
have
that
to
point it
vote.
is. But I think just in terms of direction,
And it's been
because
how
believe
long?
me, I understand where you're going with it.
February.
It's been since February.
I mean,
An additional 60 days if that's acceptable to
Yeah, I mean,
everybody?
but
That's fine.
Can you do that, this
You know.
last letter?
puts the
registered mail?
deadline.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Can we do this last letter registered mail?
registered mail, yes.
Yes.
Certified
Yep.
registered mail.
Okay.
Yep. So I can do that tomorrow, and I will, in the letter, just state that if we don't hear a response from them in one way or another within the next 60 days, that it'll be referred to school committee
Correct. And
again
it'll be
at
taken up at our
next
the
meeting, at the
following
November
meeting after
meeting.
that period.
I'm
Yes.
assuming
Okay.
because it's not, it's an outside of, it's a non-tuition-based program, it's an outside academic?
No, it's it's for SAC.
For SAC,
It's
so
for after-school
you can't
childcare.
withhold report cards or anything like that as sort
You
of leverage
can
to
per
say,
policy,
please-
and that's been done.
Okay. So even that hasn't prompted a response?
And I think Jeff's point is accurate. I mean, there's
I don't-
certainly
yeah, I think he is right.
difficult situations, families, and I would say, I think with the new policy and procedures we've put in place, we've helped a lot more people. We have a lot more people accessing the tuition scholarships and the reduced rate than we ever have in the past. So I think we've really done a good job with that. But there are certain difficult situations, and, we don't want to make it difficult for families, but the program and the salaries
Needs
of the
to get
staff are dependent on revenue, so
Oh, There's no
it is
question.
a difficult situation.
And I have to reiterate, I mean, Tom, a year and a half ago when we first visited,
Right.
there was a tremendous amount of money owed.
Right.
Yeah, we were
You
upwards
guys
of
have done
$70,000.
an amazing
so-
job in getting
Yeah.
the money back.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely. You don't mess with Pam.
we were something like, I don't know, it was something like
It was $70,000.
25,000 or something crazy.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was 70 at one point, we looked at
Oh,
it.
my gosh.
so
And then our last one we saw was, I mean, and we're at how
spring
much
was
now?
30-something.
700. So it's substantially
So-
lower.
It's phenomenal work.
It's,
you
it's,
know.
and I mean, absolutely applauded. It's just, it kills me to have that one family.
I know.
Difficult. So we'll
right.
try to reach out, and we'll send another letter and follow it with a call and let them know it's coming.
think that's fair.
And then I'll update you in 2 months.
Okay,
Okay.
Great.
thank you.
All right. One other informational item I just wanted you to be aware of, and I've got to get some numbers put together, but currently we lease studio space to cable TV. That's the studio space outside of the gym. We have a 3-year lease, which would carry them through the end of this fiscal year. I received a call right before I left for vacation from the cable studio. They would like to be let out of their lease. They're not using that space, and they would like to find out if they can just lease storage space where they have some of their equipment held. So I need to run some numbers on what we would charge for the storage, what the difference would be in price, and then you can make a decision. We did build the budget anticipating that revenue. I think it's close, I don't want to give you an exact number because I don't have it, but it's close to $16,000 or
18,
something
but
like
all
that. So it'd probably be, if we were to vote to release them from that lease and just rent the space, it'd probably be a $10,000 budget loss. So, but I want to get actual numbers before you vote. I just wanted you to be aware that I received that request and I'm in the process of getting the information for you to look at our next scheduled meeting.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, the last thing for my report is the district strategic plan. You should have gotten a copy of that in your packets. And I just wanted to, not this, yeah, I have a handout for you, but you got a copy of the full strategic plan. The school committee, I presented the strategic plan overview, and you voted on the goals and objectives already. So the only new additional information you're getting tonight is the action plan. So I kind of wanted to go through that with you tonight and talk about how I anticipate reporting the progress out to you and to just answer any questions that you have, because we would like to release the plan to the public and be able to share it with staff at our opening meeting. So did everybody get a copy? I summarized it in a PowerPoint, but you do have the full document. All right. Okay. Give you time to move around. Let's see how many people go stand by the door where it's cool. All right, so I just wanted to remind people, the strategic plan was developed by the Strategic Planning Committee. We had very broad representation and a really committed group, so thank you to all the people that worked on it. Linda Balfour, Lisa Altham-Hickey, Anna Tupper, Kelly Whitmore, Anita Mecklenburg, Carolyn Kelly, Trish Kelly, Cheryl Lassie, Sue McDermott, Bonnie O'Connell, Amy Pfeiffer, and Roxanne Bordeaux. Again, the plan was based on the district mission, which Thomas read at the beginning of the meeting, but to provide a safe, joyful, and challenging learning environment that meets the diverse needs of students. It talks about partnerships and inspiring lifelong learning. Based on the review, and for the new committee members, I think I gave you at the beginning of the year the SWOT analysis and the entry report. So based on the review of multiple sources of data and the SWOT analysis, which looked at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, the Strategic Planning Committee came up with 3 key strategic objectives that we thought were the most critical to improving student achievement and moving the district forward. Those goals were presented to you last June, and you approved the goals. Then what we did under each primary goal or objective, we identified the critical strategies that we needed to implement to realize and successfully meet the goal. And then each of the initiatives were sequenced and paced so that we'd be able to manage the demands for resource, professional development, and to make sure they were implemented with fidelity and effectively. So under the initiatives, we developed key strategies for each goal. And then in your strategic plan document, you'll see that under each objective, we have an action plan, which outlines the required action steps, the resources we need for each strategy, the timelines, who's responsible, what the final outcome measure will be, and then there's a column for progress update, and I'll talk about how we're going to use that going forward. So our first strategic objective was in the area of curriculum, and our goal is to ensure high achievement and outcomes for all of our students by engaging them in a rigorous, coherent curriculum that fosters the development of 21st century skills. So the 21st century skills really focus on collaborative learning, critical thinking, problem solving, things like that. Our first initiative, and we had a lot of conversation around this, is that we want to define what skills, learning expectations, and qualities a successful graduate of the Norfolk Public Schools should possess. So from a backwards design perspective, outside of all the content expectations, what is it we want our students to know and be able to do when they leave us in 6th grade? Action step for that, we're really going to be looking for feedback from parents, from teachers, from the King Philip staff, and from the community through surveys. We'll be analyzing survey results, and we're going to prepare a published definition of what a successful student graduate from Norfolk will possess and be able to do. Then we want to take that definition, share it with the curriculum committee so that as we're developing our curriculum, we can make sure we're planning and building those core competencies. The second strategic initiative is that we're going to be, I think when we talked about some of our weaknesses and strengths, one of the challenges we have is we don't have published written curriculum for all the core content areas. So in the first phase, we're going to be developing the written curriculum for science. The science curriculum review happened last year, so we have adopted a new program. We're going to be writing the actual curriculum this year. We've identified a common curriculum template that we'll use for all of our curriculum writing work. They've selected the new program. We're going to be providing professional development to staff, establishing common unit assessments, and we're going to be reviewing the curriculum for all the key elements. Do we include those technology skills, those 21st century skills? Are those embedded? We'll be doing the same thing for social studies. Social studies review was 2 years ago. We started writing curriculum this year. We're going to complete that process. And again, establishing common unit assessments and providing professional development. We'll be working on writing our curriculum for math. When I talk about a tiered written curriculum, we're going to be writing the curriculum expectations, so the key learning objectives, core concepts, vocabulary, critical thinking skills. We're also going to be providing right in the curriculum explicit expectations for opportunities for enrichment and challenge for students that are ready, as well as opportunities for remediation for kids that need extra practice. So that's what a tiered curriculum would look like. And we're also working on the written language curriculum this year. Under the professional development strategic objective, again, we're looking to develop and promote educator excellence, characterized by high-quality instruction, implementation of best practices, and professional collaboration. So we have 5 initiatives under that. The first thing we want to do is develop a long-range, comprehensive professional development plan for the district that considers the needs more broadly of all staff. So we're going to be establishing a professional development planning committee. We are going to be surveying staff regarding the professional development needs. That's going to include talking to curriculum committees about the implementation needs of new programs. We're also going to look at the needs of support staff, secretaries, substitutes, and other district employees. And we're also looking at alternative ways of delivering PD beyond the staff development days. So through online training programs like we did for civil rights last year, through the collaborative courses we're offering with other districts, things like that. And we're going to put together a comprehensive multi-year plan. We want to strengthen the new teacher induction program. So that would be our mentoring program. This is the first year in a long time that we have a significant number of new staff members. So we're going to be working with a small group on revising the mentoring program, surveying mentors and recent hires to figure out what worked well and didn't work well last year. We're going to put together a new mentor handbook. We're going to train new mentors. And we're also going to be collaborating with other districts to offer courses for new teachers in ELA methodology, mathematics, and also basic pedagogy. This year, under professional development, we'll also be launching district-wide data teams. Holly's smiling because she just took the course. So we're going to have a district-wide data team. We're going to be establishing goals for the 2014-15 year, determining what data teams we'll be looking at, how we're going to archive that and track it. We're going to be providing training for all teaching staff. We're running the data coaching course through RBT. It's a full graduate level course. We're offering it on site. We'll be training 18 more teachers this year. We're going to have grade level data teams at each school, and we're going to be scheduling, creating a schedule for teachers to meet to look at broadly student achievement data for a whole grade level so that we can start coordinating our resources and planning better. We have a lot of curriculum committees now that have gone through the review process that are now beginning the work of writing the actual curriculum. So we need to provide training for those curriculum teams on principles of effective curriculum design and assessment. So we'll be working on that this year. We're also providing training for all staff. This is the continuation of an effort started last year on Bloom's taxonomy and how to incorporate higher level thinking and critical thinking skills into daily classroom instruction. And we're also going to be working with teachers on effective feedback and instructional coaching. And the fifth initiative is, again, we recognize that teachers learn as much from collaborating and working together as they do from other kinds of opportunities. So we want to make sure we have scheduled opportunities for professional dialogue. We have some before and after school opportunities we're looking to structure, protected grade level meeting time. Also, principals have worked to give teachers some common planning time at grade level meetings and to support the building-based PLCs. All right, and our third strategic objective is to create a coherent, cohesive pre-K-6 assessment plan with clear proficiency benchmarks in all core content areas. So that would be in ELA and in mathematics is our focus for the beginning. And that will give teachers the data they need to provide appropriate instruction and design tiered instruction. Under that are 5 critical strategies. The first, we're developing an ELA assessment plan with grade level benchmarks for decoding, phonemic awareness, fluency, comprehension, and vocabulary. So we're starting by identifying what our expectations are at each grade level in each of those domains, and then selecting assessment instruments that will be used to measure those and when they'll be given. Then aligning the assessments to the grade level standards, and all teachers will have an assessment calendar. So for both ELA and math, they'll be able to see what assessments are given in the fall, in the spring, and in the winter, and what the proficiency guidelines are for students. We'll be doing the same again in math. We're focusing on ELA and math to start. The other thing that we're working on, and this is a requirement of any districts that have the full day transition to kindergarten grant, we have to implement the Teaching Strategies Gold assessment that looks at all different domains, and it's an assessment to track where students start the year in kindergarten and their competencies and monitor their progress over the course of the year. So we'll be implementing that at kindergarten this year. They did do it last year also. Another requirement, we have to identify district-determined measures to pilot and implement for early literacy, math, and non-core subjects. So this is a requirement that coincides with the new teacher evaluation guidelines. So we have to, by regulation, form a district DDM committee. We have to provide training for all members in assessment literacy. We have to research and identify assessments to use for DDMs in the required areas. And then we have to set criteria levels for low, moderate, and high student impact. And then provide professional development for all of our staff. And the fifth strategic initiative is that we're doing so much work around data, we needed to research and identify a technology tool for managing and storing all our student data. So this is a focus that the technology team will be working on and has worked on. They had to develop a list of criteria for assessing products based on what our needs were, to research and evaluate products that are currently out on the market. They attended professional development and select and purchase a product and provide training for all staff. So with our assessment plan, for example, in literacy, we want teachers to be able to be consistent about giving the same assessment at the same time of the year, using the same standards to measure progress, and then all of that data will be imported and tracked in a technology tool so that it'll be available for us to monitor. My intent with next steps is, if you look in the actual strategic plan document, you'll see there's a 5th column that is not filled out yet, and it says progress, and there's 3 categories. It says N for not started, I for in progress, and C for complete. So my intent would be to provide the school committee with a biannual update on the progress of each initiative using those categories, and fill this entire template out to provide you with a status update, and I'd recommend that the progress updates be given in January and June to the committee. Questions? I did want to comment, in the strategic plan, you'll note, we've only developed the action plan and all the detailed steps for the Phase 1 initiatives, and we did that purposefully because depending on how those things are completed and what the results are, we might want to tweak things in Phase 2. So you'll get the Phase 2 update when we're ready to move on to that next phase.
You guys can rejoin us.
I have too many binders, I have to find my...
Come on down. Nice and cool. Oh,
We don't bite, I promise.
oh, we do. We do, just for $1.
So I don't think that we really need a vote to accept the strategic plan, since you've already accepted the goals and approved the goals, and you've already accepted and approved the objectives under each goal. So the only thing that's new is the action plan. I don't know that we need to vote on the action plan, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have or respond to anything additional that you noticed about the strategic plan before we release it.
It was well-defined.
Yeah, that does it
Great.
right. Good.
My compliments, everybody did it, obviously.
They worked really hard, and I
More than
think it was a
hours worth
very
of
thoughtful process, and I think it's really going to give us some momentum and direction next year. So I'm excited about it, and I think a credit to the teachers and all the team that worked on it, so. Great. And that is all I have for tonight.
All right.
That's it, I know it's a lot. I guess we go into committee, this might have some things.
All right, committee reports. I don't know if we're really going to have too much here. I'm sorry, Joe, what did you say, King Philip?
Yeah, not much. We barely had a quorum last week.
Okay.
So just basically talking about what we addressed over the summer. We had our annual meeting, summer meeting, we talk about initiatives and strategic planning.
Okay.
And if you don't mind, Tom, I'm going to roll in the technology because there's nothing there. We don't meet during the summer.
Fair enough.
Good.
So skipping that one. And no, I don't mind. Policy, you guys just
Policy,
met?
we're working on, we're finishing up the policy for the discipline that we mentioned earlier. And we were also working on tightening up or finishing up the policy on, oh, great.
Fingerprinting.
Fingerprinting, yes, fingerprinting and core checks. We should have both of those ready for a first reading at the next meeting.
Question on the fingerprinting. Do we have to use an outside vendor for that?
Yes,
Any chance of using Norfolk Police Department?
no. You have to use an approved outside vendor,
They've been down
and the
this road.
police, we can't
The
use
police aren't
them.
approved to do fingerprinting for the school.
Just for people that,
I mean, many districts tried to pursue that,
Qualify for that
actually.
specially.
A lot of districts tried to pursue that because of the convenience for staff. A lot of the police departments didn't want to take it on because of the volume of people that need to be fingerprinted, but in the end, we have to use an outside vendor.
it's just employees, right?
Although,
Yes, employees.
if we take the teachers and we walk them across and we have the policemen get them for jaywalking, we might be able to get away with that.
No, because usually that's just a ticket. You don't get fingerprinted for a
I
ticket.
tried.
Nice try, though.
Anything you want to tell us, Mark?
No?
Okay, we're good.
Do I have to?
No.
I plead the fifth.
Is that it for policy?
Yes.
Budget, I guess we have nothing, right? We haven't-
Nothing yet.
The fund starts soon for that. Building, the only thing I think really going on is the continuing noise mitigation for the most part in the completion of the project, but the noise mitigation being the most hot issue, I guess it's out there, if that's
Yeah.
fair to say, so.
We did receive a bid for that, which was
In progress.
great. So I think the building committee needs to meet to vote on whether or not to accept that bid so that
Right.
we can move forward with it.
So hopefully sometime in the very near future, we will meet. I don't see us not accepting that bid, but I can't
Yeah,
speak
there's
for
only
others,
one.
obviously. And then hopefully move forward with that, and then ideally, that part would be done, and then finally get that issue and put behind us, because that's 2 years now we've been trying to get that done with, so the novelty of that is certainly worn off, so we'd like to get that addressed. That's pretty much it. I mean, some odds and ends, I guess,
The
still
only
with the
other
building.
major thing I would say that we're struggling with at this point is a response from Fontaine on the playground outside in front of the Freeman Kennedy, right by the entrance gate where the rubber play surfacing meets the concrete. They did not prepare the undersurface sufficiently, and so the concrete's crumbled, and there's a gap between the concrete and the play surfacing, which is a tripping hazard for kids because it's right at the gate where everyone's running in. We've been pursuing that aggressively with Fontaine for months now. They were supposed to send someone out to fix it, and it has not been done. We've been emailing and talking to Greg Cohen. I did receive a response from David Fontaine that he was going to follow up on it with Mark, but I want it fixed before school's opening. I mean, it's ridiculous that it's gone all summer, but we're having trouble getting them to get out here to repair it. So that's the only other major building issue we have at this point.
All right. I don't believe we have any new business unless anyone has anything.
The only thing addressed technology-wise is, everyone got an email probably later today. I put up I created on the G Drive, a folder specifically for KP. So from now on, what I'm gonna do is, as soon as I get those notes for our next meeting, I'll post them on and I'll send an email to everyone. So if anyone has any questions on it, they can certainly ask away so I can ask at the next meetings.
Great.
And I do the same thing because Pam is phenomenal about putting all these documents up in electronic format so you guys can have access to them too as well. Because in a perfect world, I'd love to try and make the board as paperless as possible.
I know that is your dream.
I'm old-fashioned. I like the paper.
It is, I'm always going to have one or two fight me. It's okay.
No, I'm with Jeff on this one. I'm a fan of paper going away. It's largely useless, so I'm okay with that. Anybody have anything else? All right, so we just need to go through our meeting minutes, vote to approve those. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look through those, and then pick a date for our next meeting.
It's listed as September 9th on the thing, which would work for me if everyone else is okay with it.
All right, well, let's do the meeting minutes for, anyone have a chance to look through these? Any issues?
Nope.
No issues.
All right, so all set, so we'll accept these.
I make a
We vote
motion
on this,
that we
right?
accept.
Okay. Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, moving on to, what's it, September 9th? Is that someone just said?
Yes.
Does that still work for everybody?
Yes.
Yep.
On. Yep, September 9th is fine with me, so let's go ahead and schedule that. All right, unless anyone has anything else, we are adjourned.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Adjourned.